Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. As drought conditions persist, the Health Ministry is warning the country to guard against mosquito-borne diseases. As we hear from TVJ's Ashane Masters, there has been a spike in the number of suspected dengue cases.
Data from the Ministry of Health have revealed that the country recorded more than 140 suspected cases of dengue last month. According to Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa Mackenzie, it is significantly higher than the figure recorded for July last year. She explains that the ministry is receiving more notifications each year, fitting the case definition of dengue even in the usually slow period.
Over the last 5 years, 3 out of those 5 years, we have been above the monthly mean.
Wow.
Right, and comparing this year to last year, we are way above. Last year, I think we saw maybe about, for that period, I think we were in the region of about 2030. Don't quote me exactly, but that is a kind of difference.
She explains that the heat is resulting in an increase in the mosquito population. Dr. Besesa Mackenzie says that this is compounded by several containers used to store water during the drought. Hence, her appeal for persons to be vigilant.
We know that people have to store water, but you have to cover the containers to prevent the mosquitoes from getting in there to lay their eggs. That is a key. You have to prevent, because every case of dengue has the potential to become serious and to result in death.
She urged parents not to wait too long to seek medical help for their children with dengue-like symptoms.
Get to the doctor early if you see that your symptoms are not improving, especially the children.
Yes.
The biggest problem we had in the last outbreak was with our children, the late presentations, and we also want to make sure that people understand that persons with chronic illnesses, in particular are sicklers, or asthmatics. You talk about not knowing what is flu, what is dengue. Many of our persons that presented with respiratory symptoms, people think it's just the flu or something else. It could be dengue.
Ashane Masters, TVJ News.
As back-to-school preparations intensify, good news this afternoon for those buying textbooks for students. Although the official surveys have not been released, it seems the cost of textbooks has not significantly increased. Chairman of the Book Industry Association of Jamaica, Latoya West Blackwood, gave an update.
As far as the market is concerned, we haven't noticed any drastic increases in the prices. There are quite a few updated or revised editions on the market, but the publishers and booksellers, I think, have worked together to not really pass on any major price increases to the consumers. So that's the information I have. Of course, I haven't received a copy of the usual consumer report that's released annually up to the time of you asking me this, but that's the information on our end.
Mrs. West Blackwood says any increase in prices will be linked to movements in the foreign exchange rate.
Good or commodity, the movement in the dollar, individual businesses and companies would have to do their own evaluations in keeping with that and make whatever adjustments. So that's a question that I think the answer applies in the same way that it does to any other business. What I'm saying in terms of the prices is that there have been no, outside of perhaps that factor, there have been no other major increases.
Justice Minister Delroy Chucks is adamant that the government is still committed to a referendum to decide if Jamaica should remove the Queen as head of state. The delay, he says, is due to the plan to also put other critical issues to a vote. That includes the Caribbean Court of Justice CCJ as Jamaica's final court of appeal.
Including whether abortion, whether the Buggery laws should have been amended, etc. And unfortunately, I must tell you that so many bills have had to be dealt with in the last 3 years that a number of these referenda matters have not really come to the fore to be addressed. But it is something that needs to be done. I can tell you it will be immediate.
2 men were found dead at Bucks Avenue off the Chapelton Main Road in Clarendon yesterday. They have been identified as Siobhan Joseph, otherwise called Noni, and Marlon Smith, otherwise called Tommy or Shortman. It's reported that about midday, the police received information about an explosion. The men were later found with bullet wounds and were pronounced dead at hospital. The commanding officer for the Westmoreland Police Division has responded to criticisms from the Negril Entertainment Association about the effects of the state of emergency on businesses. Superintendent Gary Mackenzie says crime has been down in the parish and business owners and promoters should focus on the bigger picture.
We have been able to control the movements of criminals. We have been able to manage the rate at which entertainment activities prevail. I know at this meeting there are some concerns as it relates to opening and closing hours because there are some businesses that used to close a bit later. And so I know that it would affect finances, but we have to look at the greater good.
Mr. Mackenzie adds that on May 25, the division launched the Sustainable Public Safety and Public Order Program. The aim is to have a safer environment for everyone, including businesses.
I am pretty sure that what has been happening now, one of the things I can assure you is that we are actually looking at how best we can operate after the SOE. So it's not just the SOE going on, but we are actually looking at different models.
Earlier this month, the director of the Negril Entertainment Association complained that businesses were forced to close as a result of the SOEs. And it's time for a break, but stay with us. We'll have more stories right after this. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. Opposition spokesman on agriculture, Dr. Fenton Ferguson, is calling for the government to do more to help farmers who are being severely affected by the drought. We have details in this report.
What I am saying, there are some parishes like St. Elizabeth and Manchester South that have serious problems. St. Thomas East, Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, in terms of the drought. So when you get 250,000, it's set up. That is just a drop in the bucket.
Farmers in the parishes mentioned by Dr. Ferguson have been battling bushfires and the depletion of natural water sources in recent times. Some parishes, such as St. Mary, even saw rivers completely drying up, and St. Anne having over 150 bushfires in June. The opposition spokesman on agriculture says despite the funds allocated to deal with the drought conditions, much more is needed to combat the problem.
And I have said to the minister, I said, Minister, what you have to do an analysis of the parishes that are impacted most. And you have to give them the most money. You can't give the parish and have no drought money, the same money, because they're rural. Are the ones who have all these problems with fire, with this and with that.
Dr. Ferguson pointed to areas which he believes are in need of immediate attention.
I am taking the opportunity to call on the government to first of all respond quickly to help those farmers in Flagaman. And I call on the government and the minister, Shaw, to move swiftly to deal with the drought situation in a sensible way.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ.
Thank you, O'Shane. Meanwhile, State Minister Floyd Green is reiterating the call for a change in techniques used in the agricultural sector. Mr. Green says the new techniques should adapt to climate change.
Is that we can't be practicing agriculture of the past and expect to survive in the present day. Everything has changed. And the reality is that the techniques we use in agriculture must change. We have to now look at things like hydroponics. I went to a farm. I saw a young farmer, and he was farming lettuce in less than an acre with a hydroponic solution that if you were to lay that out on land, it would take up 4 acres.
Mr. Green, who was speaking at an annual dinner of Dint Hill Technical High's Alumni Association, says some schools have already adopted new agricultural models. The Agriculture Ministry will therefore seek to educate persons about the best practices.
Look at how can we replicate models like Dint Hill, models like in my own constituency at Newell High, that has a pepper farm, that they supply Grace with peppers, and have done so well that they now lease land to do additional farming, which is done by the students. And importantly, they have a research plot to look at new varieties of pepper to sell into the Grace system.
A police impersonator is behind bars after he was allegedly found with an illegal firearm and ammunition on Lyndale Avenue in St. Andrew. He was arrested by the Constant Spring Police about 11:45 Saturday night. The police reportedly went to a sports bar, and while searching patrons, they found a loaded 9mm pistol on the man. The man attempted to mislead the police by telling them he was a member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and was a licensed firearm holder. A man who the police in Westmoreland say is suspected of being involved in several sex crimes is to face the parish court on Tuesday. 29-year-old Romanda Carr of Wharf Road, Smithfield in the parish has been charged with abduction and rape. It's reported that Mr. Carr was held under the state of emergency on July 23 after investigations revealed he was a serious threat to women and girls. The police say he was brought before the court. An identification parade was held on Friday, and Mr. Carr was positively identified. He was then charged. And in sports, Arnett Gardens coach Jerome Waite says a move to include more young players will not result in a shift from the team's playing style ahead of the season. We have details from Renardo Brown. And we're waiting for that story.
And the Jerome Waite coach team is hoping to do it with young players.
Well, presently we're targeting about 37% of players under 21. And the age range is from 18 to 21, and that should be a good mixture, with the seniors. But I still believe we have players that can go all the way. But it will be a work in progress, and it will call for, a lot of work.
The team will be void of defenders Ramiki Anderson and Jabor Johnson, who were given marching orders at the end of last season.
We are one of the teams that score the most goals, but we always give up too much. So that is one area we plan to, see how best we can, turn that around in the defensive area and continue to do well offensively. But the nucleus of players that, we see turn up for this season, we have seen, youngsters with talent, and it will be a work in progress for those youngsters to represent Arnett.
The 5-time Premier League winners have also acquired left-sided player Patrick Brown from UWIFC.
Because just certain circumstance, just need to start establish myself more to the world. And I think Arnett is the right place for that.
The club has also completed the transfer of central defender Dina Shaft from UWI. Renardo Brown for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a wonderful afternoon.